Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, then please go ahead and subscribe. Today I'm excited to show you how I made this Merry and Bright sign. I love how it turned out and the frame I really love. So if you want to see how I made it, then continue watching. For this project I am using acrylic paint by Folk Art in the color Real Brown. I am using Waverly White Chalk Paint and Waverly Chalk Paint in the color Ink. I'm going to be using these lights that I got from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to be using paintbrushes and an X-Acto knife. I'm going to be using a squeegee, baby wipes, and I have a 12 by 12 canvas. Here I have a 12 by 12 sheet of Oramask 813, which I do use these for a lot of my templates for my sign. I did cut out Merry and Bright onto this. I've just not weeded it yet. I used my Silhouette Cameo craft machine. If you do not have a craft cutting machine, then you can look at one of my other sign videos, which I believe 2 videos before this video, and I show you how to use chalk and a tracing method. I'm also going to be using a staple gun, and not shown here, I will be using a hot glue gun. So to start off, I'm going to take my canvas and I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and I'm going to cut the canvas alongside the staples that you see here on the back side of it. So now I'm going to remove the canvas from my frame and just put that to the side for now. Now I'm going to work on staining my frame. To stain the frame, I am using my baby wipe and brown paint, and I'm just going to put the paint onto the baby wipe and I'm going to rub that onto the wooden frame, and I am making sure that I am putting it on, well, not really lightly, but I am rubbing it on very thin, making sure that I'm getting it in all the crevices. And if I get a little bit too much in one spot, then I just take my baby wipe and just rub it down more and rub all the excess paint off. There's some openings on my frame that I wasn't able to get with the baby wipe, so I'm going to go ahead and paint those in with my brown paint and paintbrush. And any excess paint I am wiping off with my baby wipe. I wanted my frame to be a bit distressed, so I am taking some white chalk paint and I am mixing it with a little bit of water because it's very thick and I want to thin it out. And I am going to dry brush paint onto my frame here. I'm making sure that there's barely any paint on my brush, and I'm going to go around my entire frame like that. I am going to paint my canvas before I attach it back to my frame, so I am going to take my canvas and place it underneath the frame and just kind of do an outline of where that frame will line up on the canvas. I am only doing this because I want to make sure that I completely paint the area that's going to be seen within the frame. This is totally optional, but I just don't want to paint any excess canvas that I don't really need to. Here I am taking my black chalk paint and painting my canvas with it. I am going over the outline just a bit, just to make sure that none of the white canvas will be seen when I frame up my image. If you've seen some of my other sign videos, then this is the same way. I'm going to weed my template here, and then I'm going to stick transfer tape on top of that, and I'll go ahead and squeegee that down. Then I'm going to remove the backing. Next, I'm going to take my template, I'm going to place it down on top of my canvas and go ahead and make sure that is squeegeed on there and remove that transfer tape. And now my stencil is on top of my canvas. So now I am taking a hair dryer and I am just running that over my stencil. That way I know that it is secure on there. That way when I paint, it doesn't have really that much bleeding. Also, to help cut down on some of the bleeding, I am taking my black paint and I'm just going to do a light coat over my wording on my stencil. This step is totally optional, but I do feel that it cuts down on a lot of that paint bleeding. Now I'm going to go ahead and start painting my white paint. This chalk paint is pretty thick, so I did use a little bit of water to mix in with it. And I am doing a light coat to begin with, and then I do a second coat. Now that my paint is dry, I'm peeling off my stencil, and I am going to use my seam ripper to help weed the little small pieces that are still stuck in between my letters, like on the E. And then I will use my black and white paint and just kind of touch up where there are any little bleeds. There's not a lot of bleeds on this, but I do want to go around and just touch it up a bit. So now I'm going to attach my canvas back to my frame, and I am using a staple gun for that. I'm going to staple one side, then I'm going to hold it tight, and then I'm going to staple the other side, and then I'm going to go around and just put a few staples on each side. So now I need to remove my excess canvas, and I am taking my X-Acto knife and I am cutting on the outside of my staples. Be sure that you do not cut on the inside, because if you do, then you're basically cutting your canvas right back off of your mat. So here I am pulling off that excess, and this is what the sign looks like now. You can leave your sign as it is, but I'm going to add fairy lights. And I am just kind of laying out where I want my lights to go, and then I'm going to take a piece of chalk and just kind of mark where the lights are. Then I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and I am going to go ahead and poke a little hole where my lights can fit through. I wanted to make sure that my lights were a bit secure, so I am taking some hot glue and I'm going to squirt it in the little hole. Then I'm going to stick the light in, and I'm just going to hold it until the hot glue dries. It doesn't take very long. Now I'm just going to hot glue this battery pack onto the bottom portion of my sign. That way I can move the sign around without it just flopping everywhere. The last step is to go ahead and cover the little white canvas areas around the lights with some black paint. I just think that this looks a little bit better than having that white canvas stuck up around the lights. So here's the finished sign, and I am really happy with how this turned out. I really love my frame, and I really love the little twinkly lights. And this is what it looks like with the lights turned off. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Simply Dovie, and leave a comment down below on any other video ideas that you might have. And always, thank you so much for watching. Bye.